All right, Matthew, welcome to episode 26 of the Performance Advantage podcast. And we're talking about one of my favorite topics, the run walk. You love power meters. I love the run walk.
Yes.
Pretty excited to get into this one. And this is pertinent because I've just overcome my Achilles injury. I've got a 100k race coming up in just over 2 weeks. I'm going to be using the run walk. And it's also been very helpful coming back from my injury as to not overload too quickly. So yeah, I'm super excited to get this out there.
Yeah, this has been a popular topic for you. I'm surprised we didn't do this earlier because this was featured pretty much, it was in the newspaper, wasn't it? Talking about your run walk?
Yeah, so in New Zealand, one of the major publications is the New Zealand Herald. So in 2017, so not last year, year before, I was like, I'm going to do run walk for a marathon. And I want to see if I can go under 240 for the marathon because, I was avoiding writing my thesis and was researching the run walk. And I couldn't find any science on it. And it's like, there's theory, potentially, there wasn't even really science-based theory. It was just sort of like, if you're slow, you're going to end up walking and you'll, you might as well have a plan to walk. And I was like,
yeah, who are you kidding? You're going to walk anyway.
Yeah.
Just plan to do it.
That's really, Jeff Galloway was one of the pioneers of it, I guess it was in the 70s. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. Surely it would work for anyone. And it does make a lot of sense for even faster runners. And I'd heard one of the, he was a famous coach. I'm not sure, haven't seen him in the media as much now, Brett Sutton, triathlon coach. And he was like, Ironman should be run walking. And he talked about it. And I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. So I was like, can I run walk a sub 240 marathon? And I wrote a blog, put it out there, and it went nuts. It essentially went viral. And I had the newspapers ringing me up and, emails galore and went through. I didn't quite run a sub 240. The conditions probably weren't on, but I ran a 245 and I came second.
That's cool.
So that then got a lot more traction because it showed that it wasn't just for slow runners. It is applicable to almost everybody. And I compared it to running a straight marathon. So I did 5 weeks apart. And I would have considered I was in the same shape and everything. And I actually ran faster during the running only. But I had my running power meter on, so I was able to compare. And the two efforts were pretty much the same. The conditions were a little bit different. I was doing different courses. One was in Hawke's Bay, one was in Wellington. And looking at the power data and stuff, it essentially was the same effort. And the conclusion, for those who just want to, fast
You're giving everything away right now.
Yeah.
You can't give it all away right now.
I will, though, because I don't want to leave people hanging.
Okay, tell us.
The conclusion was it won't make you a better athlete, but it will certainly minimize your risk of failure. So
yeah.
This episode, we're going to talk about how to employ a run walk, the who, what, where, why, and how of that. Yeah,
the 5 W's.
That's pretty much it. And I'll talk about sort of what I did in the race, what I'm going to do in the 100k coming up, and we'll get into it. You want to update the listeners on anything, Matthew? I heard you won a pretty prestigious race in the weekend.
Oh yeah. We had our local club event on this weekend, and I won my category, the Masters. I'm pretty sure. Results aren't out, but, my power was pretty good. I was sweating it, though, the morning of the race. Because actually, so the day before, I was like, the weather looks pretty good to go fishing. So I just went fishing. And I got back. I was so dehydrated. I had, a splitting headache. And I didn't take any water or anything when I went fishing. I just forgot it. I was really annoyed by this. I got home and I just had a splitting headache. Tried to rehydrate, gradually. We were talking about hydration earlier a little bit. And so I tried to rehydrate a little bit. Was hydrating in the morning, but at the same time I had to change the gear cable on my bike and change the tires. I had to change my gear cable 3 times because I kept messing the loop through. I just kept messing it up. And I was getting so aggravated.
Anyone who's had to replace gear cables or brake cables, they know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's the worst. I've done it, thousands of times in my life from my years at the bike shop. But, we have integrated cables now.
Yeah,
where they're inside cabling. The frame. And sometimes I forget which way it goes and the kinks are too tight. So I spent so much time doing that I was late to the race. Again. Like I was there in time. But I didn't have time for a warm-up. I had 2 minutes to warm up. I said, you know what, don't worry about it. Just use the first lap to warm up. So I did, and it was funny looking at my heart rate and my power after the race. During the first lap, my heart rate was about an average of 170, which is super low for me. As soon as the second lap started, straight up to 200, 201, and I held it about like that to the finish. And my power was pretty consistent throughout. Yeah. I just couldn't catch anyone because I lost enough time on that first lap.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, pretty good. I was pretty happy with how I went. I felt really good after. So it was a good day out.
Well, that's fun.
How about you?
Coming back from my Achilles injury. So a couple of weeks ago, I just neglected. I've done the diet, the debrief on how I got this injury. So one of the main things after not really having to poor marathons, I was like, I need to take better care of my body. We all do, right? And then especially if you're increasing your training load. So this training block leading up to the 100Ks, and I also have 50K, but the 100Ks is the key race in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to take better care of myself. And I did. And then we went on holiday. But it was like holiday / training camp. Because that's how you do it. And I was running, 2 to 3 hours a day, every day, and we were in a caravan or camper van, yeah. So I didn't really have room to do all my stretching and my yoga. That was the excuse I was using, any self massage, and so not eating as well because I'm on holiday, and then training as hard as I can. And I got back a couple days easier. Had a 10K time trial. I didn't warm up because I didn't have enough time. And
classic.
It was cold, and all my muscles were tight from not stretching properly, or at least doing my activation work. Then I wore racing flats, which I hadn't used in months. So super low profile, unsupportive shoe. I normally wear a very neutral, unsupported shoe, but this is next level. And I was running faster than I had ran for longer than I had ran for a long time. So it's just like the whole perfect storm of boom.
Well, it sounds to me like you're blaming it on the chocolate, but in actuality, it comes down to the shoes that you were wearing on the day.
No, it's a compounding thing, because I've worn those shoes. I've pulled them out for fast sessions after months of base training and had 0 issues before. So, correlation, causation. You can't. But anyway, it was done. And I was like, oh no, this is, 5 weeks out. I could have derailed the whole thing now. Took a few days off, tried another run, still pretty sore, but felt better, so I knew it was healing. Good, great. Now I just need to be very diligent about, getting the stretching, getting the massage, keeping some heat in it was major, and doing my exercises, eccentric calf drops, which are amazing for any calf, lower calf Achilles injury. Achilles tendonitis, which it turned out to be.
Yeah, the fireplace at my house was a good place for you to do that.
It was, yes. And then when I stayed with Matt, did a couple runs. The cold definitely, that one morning it was freezing.
Well, no, the way it went is I told you, I said, Will, why are you running? Aren't you injured? And he said, yeah, actually, you're right. So we just kept going mountain biking.
Yeah.
So you're welcome.
And
boys are on.
Yeah.
Boys are on.
So, yeah, I took a for me, it was a restrained approach. And then I got out on the course along the Hauraki Rail Trail, and on the weekend, and it was good. It was good to go.
Sweet.
Another couple tests the last couple of days. This morning I did an uphill test, really check it out, because I mean, I've got to make sure it's good, otherwise I can't run 100 Ks, it'll just capitulate. And tested
whatever
it.
that means.
It's good. It's good to go.
Yeah,
Boys
sweet.
are on.
That's good. Glad to hear you're back. We don't want you injured doing a podcast.
And so what we're doing leading up to or within the race, this 100 Ks I've got is pretty much flat. I'm doing the Runwalk, right? So 2.5 weeks, couple weekends away. I'm trying to run 100 Ks as fast as I possibly can because this course is very flat. But one of the things like that happens during a 100K or ultra marathon, especially a super flat one where there's not a lot of hills, not a lot of different muscle recruitment patterns going on, you don't get a lot of break. You're just sort of running at a constant speed. I was like, this is perfect for Runwalk because I'm able to get micro recoveries throughout, and also nutrition is super important. So I need to make sure I can absorb that rather than just trying to run at a constant pace. Well, and here we are. I want to talk about how I'm going to integrate Runwalk into my 100Ks.
Okay. Well, let's start with our W's.
Yeah, for sure.
Our 5 W's. What's the best W to start with? You'd like to start with what? What is Runwalk?
Yeah, let's set it up. So it's as it sounds. You run for a period and then you walk for a period. Now, I guess, normal, I don't know what you'd say, Matt, but if you Googled Runwalk for marathon, Runwalk marathon,
besides your face, what are we going to find?
Results from a search.
It was
Did your phone just Google Runwalk? Wow.
Yeah, it's listening.
That's not cool. Wow.
Yeah.
They say that our phones aren't actually listening to us and giving us those tailored ads. They are. They 100% are. It's just wrong.
Hopefully I pop up.
Well, there's your true test.
If it doesn't...
So what do we get if we Google it then?
Well, you might get the Jeff Galloway approach, which is more around very short walking periods, as in running for 6 minutes or 5.5 minutes and then walking for like 10 to 30 seconds.
Well, that's really short.
It is really short. So, when I was researching this, we were still doing our PhDs. We were in the lab. We had access to like endless amount of facilities. So I went and tested it, and I had the gas exchange mask on, heart rate and everything hooked up, and I wasn't able to get enough recovery to make it viable to walk for such a short amount of time. Yeah, sure, it broke up like your muscle recruitment patterns, but it didn't do much else for that. It was like harder to get going, like the slow to speed up paces.
Yeah, sure. You're only slow. You're basically are taking a couple seconds to slow down, and then you need to take a few seconds to speed back up.
Yeah.
So 10 seconds doesn't sound like much. What do you stick with your Runwalk?
I trialed a few different ones, and I settled on 19 and 1.
So that's 19 seconds and 1 second walking.
Yeah, 19 minutes and 1 minute, and 14 and 1. So anything within that, but those numbers they're round numbers.
So you want to be able to look at your watch and say, okay, I'm at my next 20 minutes. It's time to start running, or something easy like that. So you don't have to do calculations in your head.
Yeah. Like that's really easy. If you see like a 20 minute, a 40 minute, 60 minute, something like that, oh, whoops, missed my walk. If you don't have an alert on, but 19 and 1 worked super well, and it will generally work well with aid stations as well.
Okay.
For where they
so like you just get to the aid station, and when you see the aid station, it's about 19 minutes. So you walk
Yeah.
through the aid station.
Yeah. And how that came about, how 19 and 1 came about, is it actually gets to be quite a complex calculation of the cost versus the reward, like the risk reward. Because if I'm going to run a 240 marathon and I'm going to run from start to finish, I will run, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. Let's say it's 3 minutes 40 per kilometer, right?
You have a calculator for this in your article, don't you? You have a whole spreadsheet that shows how fast you're going to run.
Yeah. So that's like one pace. But then if you start to integrate walking periods, you actually have to run faster to compensate for the walking. And so then, there's a certain percentage of how much faster you can run versus how much benefit you get from walking. So if
you can't just be sprinting for the 19 minutes. Obviously.
Yeah. Like if you're going to do, let's say 17 minutes and 3 minutes walking, you're walking so much that you have to run essentially above your threshold. And by like 2 of them, you get a large recovery period of 3 minutes, but the running period is just far too hard. Like it's too depleting to be able to withstand a whole marathon.
Right. So the time loss is too big that you're really just not going to make it up.
Yeah. And so that led me to 19, anywhere from really 14 in 1, like a 15-minute block, to a 20-minute block appeared to be the most appropriate.
Cool.
In terms of gain loss, really. Yeah.
Cool. So, but why do you do it in the first place? Why don't you just run slower?
Sure.
Right? Because that's what you're essentially just you're manipulating your average speed.
Yeah. There's a few reasons. One would be, like I mentioned, the muscle recruitment patterns. Along with, there's a lot of things that go into fatigue. And one can be the neurological muscular recruitment pattern. So your brain...
Is this the Noakes theory? The central fatigue?
Yeah, it sends the signal to the muscle and you contract. So if you can constantly do that with zero recovery or stoppage, you potentially can wear that system out and it will begin to, maybe you'll get a cramp. That whole biochemical contraction process will break down and then the muscle goes into spasm or a cramp.
Yeah. So it's a bit like listening to the same song on repeat too many times. Eventually you just kind of crack. You're like, I don't want to listen to Kendrick Lamar Humble one more time. I'm over it.
Hey, that's a good analogy. You've also got like fluid or like nutrition, hydration, absorption. So if you're trying to run, like we've all done a running race, they give you a cup with huge opening at the top. You're like, well, this is appropriate.
You spill half of it when you grab the cup.
Yeah, and then you put the other half in your eye.
Yes. And Gatorade burns.
Yeah. And then you get your gel out and you'll just put that over sort of most of your cheek, up your nose, and then on your lips.
Yeah. And that doesn't wash off easy either.
No, because you just ran out of water. But luckily, like the tears from the Gatorade in your eyes are able to wash off the side of your face.
Yeah. So if you plan your walking at the aid stations, you can concentrate on getting your nutrition in.
Yeah, and we should be trying to get in a minimum during a race of 2 hours or more of 40 grams of carbohydrates an hour.
40 grams of carbohydrates an hour.
Generally,
running's going to be less.
Pardon?
Running's going to be less than, say, cycling, isn't it? You're going to aim for fewer carbohydrates just because of all the jumbling around in your gut.
Yeah, like with cycling, we have a drink bottle. So you can put a whole bunch of carbs, Gatorade in there, and then just constantly sip it. Now, with running, we obviously have a larger mechanical stress on our gut, like the jumping up and down. and we can't sip away. Like in an ultra, yeah, sure, but because the added weight of carrying like a hydration pack, it's not so bad. But generally, you're in a marathon sense, you're going to be taking a gel. And so you have to take large bolus, like a lot of your carbohydrates at one point in time, because you don't have the accessibility to just keep sipping away at a drink bottle. So that's a very minimum 40. I'd recommend 60. And then if you're well experienced, you can get up to 90, right? But then so if you're able to get a gel every 20 minutes while you're walking, that again it helps you with your timing, it helps you with your absorption, it helps you like have an actual amount of water in your mouth with your gel or just sports drink, however you've set it up. And now you can sort of guarantee that whole process has happened. It hasn't just gone everywhere.
Yeah, so you can use that timing to do lots of things. Have your rest, change the way your muscles are being used. That's what you mean by the muscle activation patterns?
Yep.
You go from running to walking. So
then
you're
you have
using
the
muscles a little differently.
cardiovascular stress. So again, like your muscles and your body in general requires oxygen and then some kind of fuel, either carbohydrate or fat, and maybe ketones or proteins. Generally fat and carbohydrates and oxygen, right? So there begins, as you continuously exercise, there's fatigue and there's the oxygen requirement is increasing. If you then are able to walk, you're actually able to catch up essentially and calm down the whole system, so the cardiovascular system is less stressed and it's able to catch up, and you're able to oxygenate like more muscles and just recover those other ones that are potentially over fatigued, to the point where you get a recovery period, right?
Yeah. So you have the nutritional factors, which Runwalk's good for that.
Yeah.
You have the physiological factors. Runwalk's good for that. What about mentally? Does it help to have that break?
So it helps and it hinders. Like I was obviously I was going for a 240 marathon, and at the Hawke's Bay Marathon, I wouldn't say it's not like one of the New York or Boston, one of the big international marathons where the winner's going to do 210 or faster. This is, I guess, a local New Zealand marathon where the winner's going to do 230 or something. So 240 is going to get me top 5 or better. And so I was in the top 5 going through the first aid station, which for me was around 19 minutes, and I start walking. Now I was running in a group. There's one guy off the front, and then there was, second through to 6, I think, maybe, where we were together. Then I just stop and start walking for a minute.
Oh, no. And they're like, oh, well, see you later, guy.
Yeah.
You're dead.
And
like, how does that feel? Like, you just let the race go away.
It's gone. And I was committed. I'd mentally committed to it and said, "Yeah."
Well, you had to because the newspaper said that you were going to do it.
I was like, there was a lot of pressure on actually. And then people were like, "Yeah, I got." And then I'm like, they all run off, throwing water at themselves, and I'm having a drink, and they're like, "Are you all right? Keep going, keep going." I'm like, "Oh, it's part of the plan."
Everyone feels bad for you.
Yeah, they're like, "Yeah, sure it is." So then I run, get off, and I started to sprint off to try and catch back up. And I was like, no, stick to your plan, went through a few more. But in that sense, it was like, that was really mentally challenging to just stop right at the start of the race. And I'm just walking.
But it's not like you stopped and curled up in a ball because you had a cramp. Like you were still moving.
Yeah, and right? that is also really important. I can get into that a bit later, actually, in terms of the pacing thing. So yeah, that was tough. Then couple run walks later. So let's just call it an hour. 3 run walks later, it was a point-to-point race, and we turn in to, I guess, the final straight of like the next 28 Ks or so, and it was just headwind the whole way. Then I just walked as though we'd come around into the headwind, And as I was walking, I was doing my system check. You know, am I thirsty? How's my pacing? How do I feel? How hot am I? That kind of thing. And I was like, it's windy. I can't run 340s anymore. It's too hard. I need to slow down.
So you slowed down even more.
So in my running, my next running block, I was running like 350s to 355s, where my other pace was 340s to 345. This is minute per kilometer. So mentally in the run walk, and I've done this in other races as well, the system check was better. The whole the reevaluation of the race plan, rather than pushing on and being like, actually, no, I'm going all right. I can commit. I can do this. I can get through this headwind. And then you only find that out when it's too late.
Yeah, once you blow up. So do you think being really smart about your pacing early on helped you make a smart choice later by kind of slowing down? Because you are already being smart instead of trying to hang with the group maybe? And
yeah, it gives you... it just gives you I don't want to say it's not a secondary opinion, but it is it just gives you another chance to rethink things.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. When you're going as hard as you can, like no one's making good choices out there.
No, and if you're running next to someone, what are you going to do? Oh yeah, you can go ahead. Like we do the sport.
Do you want to slow down, bro?
Yeah, you can say we do it for fun and stuff, but we're competitive. We want a good time. When you're on for a personal best, you don't want to go, I'll slow down. And yeah, so like mentally I committed to doing what I was doing, the run walk. And so I'd made that choice. And then we get through, saw my wife Emma at halfway, and she was like, yeah, keep going, later on.
You ran past her though. You weren't going to walk. You're like, walking. We're at 19 minutes, but I'm going to keep running.
I was at a walking part, and she said, what'd she say? 7 minutes and 5 minutes. I was in fourth at that stage, halfway, 7 minutes and 5 minutes to second and third, and that's a long time. Like we're running pretty fast. To gain 7 minutes over the second half is a lot.
Yeah.
And so she has told me later. She was like, oh yeah, you would. In my head, you were done. There's no way you're catching those guys.
Oh, no. No faith in the run walk.
Next minute.
Well, yeah, because you already gave us the outcome. We know you got second. You gave it away in the beginning. When did you start to catch the other guys?
So part of the run walk is it only works up to a certain point, right? So at 30 Ks, there's an aid station around 31 to 30 Ks, somewhere around there. I was then just committed to running the rest of it, because at that point, the slowing down and speeding up process is too daunting to just, like, you've done what you can to preserve yourself. Like, the main thing you're doing is trying to be able to run, or at least speed up or maintain your pace at the end of the race. It's a pacing strategy.
So you were pacing with the run walk to save it all for the end.
Yeah. And so I got to that where I decided to run. I was like, all right, I'm running. I was like, man, this is ridiculous. I feel really good. And I got to, so we must have had an aid station around 6 Ks to go or something. Emma was there again. She was like, they look wrecked and they're really close. And so I was just like, yes. And I was like, all right, I'm all in. I'm feeling great.
Boys are on.
Boys are on. And I just went for it. I saw this red t-shirt and I knew the guy was singlet. I was like, oh my God, there he is. So even more motivation. Then I saw the other dude ahead of him. I was like, oh, this is on. So there's like 4 Ks I passed, and then it took me another K to catch the other guy. And no one's coming back at you, And yeah, I ran like in just over 18 minutes for that final 5K. And like the fastest 5K split of my whole race was in that final 5, and it closed in second, $1,500. Yeah, down the finish line.
Well bought drinks that night.
It was great feeling to accomplish that. then if we look at 5 weeks later, I did a full run. Now, I slowed that whole last 10Ks as opposed to speeding up. But then I'd paced, I guess, well enough at the start to ensure that I wasn't slowing down too much. And then
So you didn't just sprint off the line and go for it?
No, it's like I was still running within my abilities. Just the conditions and the course meant that, yeah, I had overpaced slightly and I was slowing down, but not drastically. Nothing crazy. And that sort of led me to the conclusion of the Runwalk is an amazing pacing strategy, but it's still a pacing strategy. So if you are capable, like I am, of running start to finish in a marathon, I'm not going to end up walking on a good pacing strategy. I can run start to finish and I can pace it perfectly and achieve that and speed up the whole way. Or I can employ a run-walk strategy and essentially give myself a bit of a safety net for continuous revision of my pacing, which you can do in your continuous running, but you're probably going to do it a lot later. You're going to think, I can.
When you're forced to walk.
Yeah, or you're really forced to slow down. And
so if you can run the marathon and you can walk the marathon, is there anyone that you think should stick with a run walk? Like, is there a certain time that people are going for where run walk might make more sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Because you can run pretty fast with a run walk.
Around 4 hours for the marathon. So the average finishing time for a marathon is around 4 to 4.5 hours. And at that pace, your percentage slow down and speed up is not too drastic. So what's really important for people to realize is you don't stop. So people are like, oh, what? Like, how many run walks are you going to do? So for the pace I was running, I was doing 6 or 7. And that's for 1 minute. That's not 6 or 7 lost minutes. I don't lose 7 minutes off my time. That time I'm still moving forward. So I was trying to walk at least 10 minutes per kilometer, which is a brisk walk. It's not like a crazy super walk or a dawdle. It's like a brisk walk
not a speed walk.
No, that most people could achieve. So I was covering 100 meters within that 1 minute at 10 minutes per kilometer. Now, if you're running a bit slower than I was, because I was running like 17 kilometers an hour, so like just under 4-minute Ks. Now, if you're doing a 4-hour marathon, you're more around, I think it's closer to 6 minutes per K. So you're actually, then to walk at 10 minutes and running at 6, you're slowing down a lot less. So you're losing even less time than I was losing in terms of like your trade-off. Like, in that 1 minute, you would have ran, let's just, for example, 140 meters. Now you're walking for just 1 minute and you're still going to cover 100 meters. So you've actually only lost 40 meters of distance, or that time equivalent, which could be, 30 seconds or so. But then,
so it doesn't sound like a bad option for a lot of people, probably.
Yeah, a lot of people have, written to me, like emailed me, commented and stuff, and said this is like game changer, because I was always running generally too fast at the start.
Don't we all?
I was forced to walk for a very large portion of time, and that's not a brisk walk. That's like a defeated, head down, feeling sorry for yourself walk.
Well, you're probably cramped, your feet hurt, your feet are blistered.
Yeah, your range of motion, that muscle activation's burnt out, like you're done. Like
I would probably be dead.
So then to just incorporate something like the Runwalk earlier on, with all the benefits it affords, it's just like, it's a no-brainer, really. The only thing is, you have to walk. That's the hard, and that is the hard part.
You have to make yourself do it. But it's better to make yourself do it before you have to do it.
Yeah,
that's kind of the way I'm saying it.
If you're in the main pack, right, there's hundreds of people around you. You're one of these huge international marathons. And then you have to, like, take that mental burden of, like, I'm walking after 20 minutes.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like the people that speed up in the passing lane. You would be that person that would blast past 100 people or so when you're running, and then slow right down to a walk. And get
you're
passed
like
by 200
run past
people.
everyone and then get to the aid station and just, like, stop.
Yeah, you'd be that person. But to me, it sounds like a really good strategy. But so to get to our next W, when would you do this?
But yeah,
when would you do this? So if someone comes to you and they say, "Hey, Will, I have X race coming up. Should I be doing Runwalk in training? Should I practice it? Should I do it in this race?" I think we covered that doing a Runwalk in the race is probably going to make sense for a lot of people, for all the reasons that we mentioned.
Yeah.
But should we be trying this during training? How should we prepare?
So training is for sure number one. When you should try it to see how you feel about it. Like, it's like a lot of things, it's not going to be for everyone. Some people just like low carb, right? It's just not going to work for them. They're not wanting to do it. They enjoy carbs. It's just not going to work. So
who doesn't love carbs?
Yeah, true. So yeah, try it in training, and you want to try it on a run of at least 90 minutes, right? If you're not up to 90 minutes at the moment, that's where the 14 in 1 is really good for training. Run for 14 minutes, walk for a minute. Then you can get 4 of those within an hour. So you can really start to see how you feel compared to your normal running, like running start to finish. And then, yeah, if you've got longer runs, you can get into of 2 hours or more. That's where you really start to notice a difference. And if you can do it in a half marathon. If you're over 2 hours, it'll still work really well. Marathon, especially road marathons, when we get into trail running, we start to be a very different story. Due to the undulating terrain, it's like you're already breaking up your muscle patterns. Potentially you're walking anyway up the hills. It becomes quite hard to try and get, like, definitive time points.
Yeah. So you're actually getting into a where.
Sorry.
And
sorry.
This is,
what was that one?
That's all right. We were on when, but I think, we need to try it in training for sure. But the where, I think you're right. When we think about trail running, like, you can go pretty fast downhill, and gravity does help you in a way. Like, it's hard work to go up a hill, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, you go even slower. So to walk up a hill, I don't know, maybe that'd be all good. But to walk down a hill, you're still doing that eccentric damage because you're fighting gravity the other way, right? You're stopping your muscles from collapsing, whether you're running or whether you're walking. So when we think about the where, and we're thinking trail running versus running on the road, when are we going to try and do the run walk? Where are we going to try and do it?
Where? Road, essentially any road marathon, or a half marathon if you're over 2 hours, is going to be appropriate.
So do it. Just try it.
Just try it. Try it in training, and you'll know. You'll know. A light switch will go off, as in, like, this is just great. And the only real caveat there is, like, if it's a blistering headwind and you're in a pack of 10 people, stay there. You're going to have more benefit doing that.
Aerodynamic benefit.
Yeah, aerodynamic. Then if you are running, like I'm going to think about the Rotorua Marathon here, there's a really long downhill. That's a nice sort of gentle gradient that is like, you just, as long as you can loosen out, you're running really fast. For you to stop in the middle of that hill and walk, the risk reward is way out. So you're better off just to hold off. It takes a lot of work
to stop.
And yeah, it would take a lot. Just holding
like
off.
Fred Flintstone putting the brakes on.
Walking at the end of that. So you're better off, like if it's a super hilly road marathon, look at the profile of the course and go, okay, Will said 19:1. I can see based off of my pace, I'm going to run, every kilometer in 6 minutes, and there's a hill at 5, 7, and blah, blah, and you can go, oh, right, I'm going to run the hills at like 7 or 8 minutes. You can start to sort of do a basic workout of like, at the top, near the top of every hill, I'm going to walk for a minute and a half, and I'm going to gain a lot on the downhill because I'll be more relaxed to run it. So that's where you can, what you can do. If it's there's not a lot of super hilly road marathons. There are some hills in them, but not ridiculously hilly. And then
no one would do them because no one runs a marathon for that marathon. You run it for a time in a marathon.
Yeah.
So if it was super hilly, no one would go.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, unless it's like iconic in
Yeah.
terms of like, it's like really, it's a hard one. And if you can get, under 4, under 5, or under 3 at this course, like you're doing super well. Otherwise, everyone just wants good times.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and then we get into the trail, and that's just, it's a whole different beast because we're looking at super random distances, like a 17k or an 83k or 105k, so the distances are out, which makes pacing a bit difficult, and it also, who knows what the terrain is. You could be going in completely blind. You might have a GPX file or something so you can understand the climbs and hills, and yeah, to try and plan in your walking breaks, you could end up going, committing to 19:1 and then walking just before the uphill, or where you could have walked the whole uphill, but you've just walked part of the downhill before it because you didn't know.
Yeah. So you need to pace it according to the profile. That's what we do in mountain biking too.
Yeah, so that's where, and we've got a couple episodes on running. If, this is all running based, on running with power. So then you can just look at different thresholds. And if you don't have a running power meter, use heart rate. If I'm running up this hill, and this hill is, I'm not sure how long it is, my heart rate's starting to get above 160, boom, that's the drawstring,
Okay. So that's when you're like, okay, I'm going to start walking now.
Yeah.
I see.
And, it's so hard unless you've got large periods of reasonably flat terrain. So the Trail Trilogy 100k, Hauraki 100, which I'm doing in a couple of weeks, it's almost entirely flat. So okay. I can comfortably plan for that. Whereas, the 100k I did last year was very hilly, super undulating. There's a bit of road, there's a bit of farmland, there's a bit of single track. And I sort of, in my head, just I knew I'd done the course before, so I sort of knew where I could walk and still get a benefit, and I wasn't going to, it wasn't going to be a trade-off of walking on it down before coming around a corner and having to run the whole up, or walking again and ended up walking far too long a section.
Yeah, but you can change it on the fly if you have to.
Yeah, totally. There'll be times where the aid stations don't sit where they said they would sit, and that group running situation dynamic, you don't know if you're going to end up in a group of 10 people, which is mentally more relaxing. You just have to meet stride and run, switch off. you don't have to worry about all this other stuff going on. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it.
So in your 50K training race that you have coming up in, was it 2 weeks?
100. That's the 100.
You said you're doing a 50K before it? Race?
Did I? I'm doing a 50K after it.
Oh, after it. Yeah, never mind. Okay, well, are you going to do Runwalk in both of them?
I do Runwalk in the 100%.
Okay, you have to. We'll call the newspaper and make sure.
The 50K is too hilly. It's like I'll be walking parts of it anyway. Yeah.
Walking the uphills.
Just sections of the uphill. There's some really steep sections. I know the course reasonably well. It's in Taupo in New Zealand. The courses, I understand it. I know where I can walk for a little bit. Get enough breaks in there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So are you going to still use the 19-1, or are you going to change it for the 100K?
No, the 100 I'll use 19-1. It fits really well with my nutrition protocol that I utilize in pretty much any race, over any trail race where there isn't a lot of aid stations. So like with a marathon, you generally will get an aid station between 3 and 5 kilometers, which is plenty. I then don't have to carry anything. But
Wow.
if I am forced to carry something, or like my nutrition, then I just revert to my like gel mini Snickers water setup.
You love the mini Snickers.
Love the mini Snickers.
They are pretty good. Yeah.
But we haven't talked about triathlon as well.
Oh, okay. I forgot about the whole triathlete thing.
Pretty much it works the same.
Yeah. But it's
almost
probably...
because
you almost have to, though. Like, don't a lot of people just end up walking anyway? Especially if you're doing...
Yeah.
Like, you're coming off a lot of exercise already, and then you get to the running part, which is... It's the hardest, isn't it? Except for me, where swimming's the hardest, where you're just trying to survive.
Yeah. The neurological recruitment patterns and the cramping and the whole biological system, because a lot of people, 90% of people can't train for the duration of the event. You know, if you're a professional, you can do an 8-hour training day, 9-hour training day. For the general age grouper, they're 12, 13 hours, 11 hours. You're going to be pretty hard pressed to bang out a few 11 to 12 hour training days.
I mean, you
At
probably
intensity.
shouldn't, actually. That would probably be a bad idea.
Exactly. So you're going to get into the position where you haven't been able to train your muscles to like recruit and be active, like physically.
So you're going to end up walking.
In some kind of demand, like deficit or damage control situation. So trying to get that in really early, trying to like leverage every single muscle group at different points in time to try and like prolong your fatigue or the onset of fatigue is going to be beneficial. And like, yeah, if you can just mentally commit to it earlier, you'll be well better off.
Yeah. So it might be something like get out of the transition with your shoes tied properly, and start walking, right? And make sure everything's good to go.
Yeah.
And then, then start running. Give yourself that break in between the cycling instead of getting straight off of a time trial in your really uncomfortable tri bike and then blasting out a run as fast as you can.
I did
Ease
that.
into it.
I did that at Ironman.
Oh no!
Did
your shoe come untied?
No, I had springy laces. People don't tie their laces.
Oh, really?
Triathlon.
Oh, cool.
Well, like elastic ones. You're a rookie. But I was like, I'm doing Runwalk for the Ironman. I hadn't done this whole Runwalk science
So
thing.
you didn't believe in it.
I believed in it, but I hadn't, I guess, convinced myself. So I went out.
You didn't believe in it.
I was in second place in the age group race, and the guy wasn't not that far ahead I don't know, 5-7 minutes, within 10 minutes anyway. So I had a whole marathon within an Ironman to catch him. So to win overall age group race, so that's pretty major. And I just took off. My watch beeped for a walk, and I was like, no. And then the guy was only maybe 5 minutes behind me in third. So long story short, I completely exploded. I still hung on to third, but it was excruciating. I just really wish I had paced it better. I was in that situation where I was looking at my watch, being like, this is feeling pretty good, and I'm going to be running so much faster. And I thought, oh man, like a sub 3 hour marathon in the Ironman, oh, I'm going to be killing it. And like, how my world changed.
Yeah, you still need to be practical, even on days when you feel good, because even on your best day, you're not going to blow your own mind. So when you find yourself in that position, blowing your own mind, you need to take a step back and think, I might be going a bit too hard.
In the like the real endurance based stuff, like if you're in a 5K or a 10K, give it a hoon. Like,
yeah,
you're only going to be a couple minutes over if you really blow up. But in these ultra endurance events, you just, like, your whole thought process, you're trying to exercise a whole day, you know, by hour 10 or whatever, you're like, you can't make smart choices. You need to have a plan, and a plan you know is going to work for you. You need to have a couple, you know, B and C plans. If things are going really well, really badly. But for the most part, if you're like, I'm going to do Runwalk, commit to it.
Yep. And that's what you would do next time, isn't it?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, you might have to, actually. I know you've been on the stationary bike training on Zwift.
Well,
so
I don't
you've
really
been
like
running.
Zwift. I've got, for people who are like new to using a smart trainer, and they hear a lot of Zwift because it's, you know, like gaming for smart trainers. I use a program called Performance Pro. Matt, you've used it.
Yeah,
Perf Pro. It's really, really good. It has like unlimited amount of exercises. It's a one-off fee. I'm not sure what they're charging. I bought it like 4 years ago. It's just you just buy it, and then you get continual updates, and you can have any kind of workout you can imagine. You can just apply it. It'll tell the trainer to put the resistance on. You get heaps of data, links to Strava, links to Training Peaks, links to your email if you want it, everything.
Yeah, it's a good program.
And it really good graphics, like in terms of your heart rate, your cadence, little bars and graphs, or you could have it super basic, and then you can watch whatever you want or just listen to music. You're not committed to, one, the monthly Zwift fee, and then two, like having to have that whole Zwift world gaming, that whole game. Yeah. Like you don't have to have the whole game up.
Well, the cool thing is with Perf Pro, you can download the workouts that we make as coaches.
Yeah.
Right? Because we can make a workout to be used with your smart trainer.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. Like when we make a workout, the file is attached to it. So you can download these on Smart MTB Training. I have, the workouts in there that you can click and drag into your own schedule. And it says Smart Trainer file in brackets after it. So you know which one is which. And you can put that straight into your calendar and then do that exact workout that I made. And I know you make them for your athletes too. And they're awesome. It's super convenient. So you can just download it and do it.
Yeah. Anyway, it is. Yeah, it is. What were you asking about smart trainers?
You've been on the smart trainer. You need to do another Ironman.
Oh, yeah. I said to Emma, I was like, being on that, because I was injured, so I was trying to keep my fitness up by doing the more indoor biking. And I was like, I've been enjoying this. I'd love to do another Ironman, but let's get this Enduro Crankworks sorted, Matt, before I start committing to more training.
Oh, yeah. Well, the good news is I can make you workouts that you can upload to Pro, and you can do them that way and get you ready for mountain biking. I'm still waiting on my running training plan, though. I'm not really not that keen to start it, but give me 2 weeks when I get back from my trip.
Yeah, Eurobike, right? I'm excited to hear about that.
Yeah, I leave on
Oh yeah, so
Saturday.
everyone, we're taking a hiatus just for a week while Matt's at the big European bike industry
Yep.
trade show.
Yeah, we'll miss next week, but I'll be back after that, and then it'll be all good.
Yeah, so Matt's going to give us a behind the scenes of the bike industry, which is going to be super cool.
Yeah, show you all the new things, get some interviews while I'm there, see if they make the cut. Should be pretty good.
What else, Matt? Before we wrap up,
I think that's pretty good. I think we know what Runwalk is, why we do it, who it would be good for, which is everyone, when we should try it, and where we should try it.
yeah, and as a plug for my coaching businesses, the Endurance Training Hub has Runwalk training plans in there. So it's $99 for a year. Sign up, you get like heaps of Runwalk training plans. I've got them for half marathon for like 3.5 hours, 5 hours. Like they're all in there. Drag and drop. Got those workouts. Got some videos. I've got a webinar about the Runwalk in there as well. So get on it if you're interested to learn more. Otherwise, flick me an email and we can tee it up and I can write you a personalized training plan.
Yo.
Otherwise, Matt, have an awesome time at Eurobike and good luck with your training, everyone. Catch you in a couple weeks.
See ya.